Tonight on NewsWatch, civil war in Syria, what the use of chemical weapons could mean in the bloody battle.
Plus, did the Boston Marathon bombing suspects receive some sort of training? Why some lawmakers say yes.
And Ireland is one of the safest places in the world for a pregnant woman and her baby, but that could soon change. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Syria's prime minister survives a bombing in Damascus. Good evening, I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. The bombing is the latest violence in a civil war that has so far killed more than 70,000 people. Opponents of President Bashar Assad say he's used chemical weapons to kill his own citizens.
President Obama warned that would be a red line and a game changer. Now a growing number of lawmakers say he may have to back up his talk.
John Waggy has more in tonight's top story.
For some time now, this gruesome video has been circulating of people the Syrian opposition says were killed by President Assad's chemical weapons. In March, President Obama suggested that if chemical weapons were used, it might push a reluctant U.S. to intervene against the regime.
To use potential weapons of mass destruction on civilian populations crosses another line, and that is going to be a game changer.
Now the U.S. has joined British, French, and Israeli intelligence in saying that Assad forces did use chemical weapons. That prompted this recent exchange at the White House between Press Secretary Jay Carney and ABC's Jonathan Karl.
Jay, did the president mean it when he said use of chemical weapons would be a game changer in Syria?
Yes, he did.
So what does that mean?
The president made clear the use of or the transfer to terrorist groups of chemical weapons by the Assad regime would be crossing a red line. And he retains all options to respond to that.
Military force, including military strikes.
All options.
As distasteful as Assad is to the U.S., the Syrian opposition features a strong presence by al-Qaeda, a decided U.S. enemy. Still, a growing number of lawmakers say the U.S. may need to intervene to help take down Assad, if for no other reason than to remind the world that the U.S. stands by its word.
The fourth thing, if we keep this hands-off approach to Syria, this indecisive action towards Syria, kind of not knowing what we're going to do next, we're going to have a war with Iran, because Iran's going to take our inaction in Syria as meaning we're not serious about their nuclear weapons program.
While the U.S. debates Syria policy, Israel is fortifying the Golan Heights along the Syrian border, a border that has been generally quiet since the last war 40 years ago. It comes as a former Israeli defense minister warns that Syria is funneling chemical weapons to the radical Hezbollah in Lebanon.
We must be ready to be able to fight against radical fundamental activities that will come from Syria, and that's what we're doing here.
John Waggy, CBN News.
And our senior international correspondent, George Thomas, is with us now to talk more about Syria. George, what happens if chemical weapons in Syria get in the hands of al-Qaeda?
That would be not good. I mean, that would really not be good. You know, al-Qaeda has for years talked about acquiring weapons of mass destruction like chemical weapons, a nuclear bomb, for example, taking over the nuclear jewels of Pakistan. But they have said clearly that if they did obtain weapons of mass destruction like chemical weapons, they would definitely use it. But listen, Syria is home to the largest place for chemical weapons in the Middle East, fourth largest in the world, and they have about 1,000 tons of chemical weapons stored in about 50 different places, mainly up in the north. So this is very, very serious. Western intelligence, Arab intelligence are very, very concerned about the potential of this falling into the hands of not just al-Qaeda, but also Hezbollah of Lebanon.
Well, as you know, there's a lot of evidence pointing to the possibility that Syria is using chemical weapons. How would this change the face of this war?
You know, the administration is very cautious because of the situation, the debacle over Iraq and the weapons of mass destruction there, and the assertions that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. The Obama administration is saying, listen, we have to send in the UN investigators. They've got to go in, get the soil samples, verify, double check, make sure all this stuff is true and is verifiable. terrible. But obviously it changes the game. You know, I was reading today how one Syrian commander said, listen, don't send us jihadists. We need weapons. The weapons need to go into the hands of the Free Syrian rebels, as well as the other factions that are fighting against Assad.
Well, do you think that we're doing enough to help the rebels? Some say there's really no good guy or bad guy.
That's right. It's very unclear to know. I mean, look, there are factions within the opposition that clearly have links to Al-Qaeda. These are guys who fought our forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. They hate Americans, both sides. All the factions that are fighting against the Assad regime do not like the United States. The key is, who do you arm? And that's a tough one.
Is the U.S. going to have to get boots on the ground there?
Well, that's something that nobody wants to talk about right now, because the public is very much war fatigued.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, keep us posted.
Thank you.
George, thanks. Mark?
The American pastor imprisoned for his faith in Iran is now in solitary confinement. Family members confirm Saeed Abedini was put there. 9 other prisoners are also being confined. According to the American Center for Law and Justice, the move comes after Abedini and others from Ward 350 petitioned Evin Prison on account of its horrible conditions. Since his imprisonment last fall, the pastor has sustained internal bleeding, and now there are fears his kidneys are failing. CBN News has been working from the beginning to bring you Pastor Saeed's story. For the very latest, you can visit our website, cbnnews.com. And if you want to take action in this case, visit our Facebook page. There you will find contact information for the State Department and the White House. You can call and urge lawmakers to do more for Pastor Saeed.
The CIA has given tens of millions of dollars in cash to Afghan President Hamid Karzai over the last decade. The New York Times reports the money has come in suitcases, backpacks, and even plastic shopping bags. The money is dropped off every month or so in an attempt to buy influence. But there's little evidence that it's working. Instead, U.S. officials say the money has led to more corruption and strengthened Afghan warlords. And that's made it harder for the U.S. to leave Afghanistan.
Some lawmakers believe the Boston bombing suspects may have received training to help them carry out their attack. The FBI says Russian authorities intercepted a phone call between the older brother and his mother 2 years ago. Their conversation included talk of jihad.
I do think there are persons of interest. In Russia is where I think they went from, yes, I'm ready for jihad. Here's how you conduct an act of violence, with including training.
The suspect's mother, Zubeydat Sarnaeva, says she is not a terrorist and her sons are innocent. She and her husband have put off their planned trip to the U.S.
The murder trial for abortion doctor Kermit Gosnell moved into closing arguments today. Both sides of the nation's abortion debate are weighing in on the trial. Abortion rights advocates say the testimony points to the need for procedures to be more accessible. Pro-life supporters say the media has under-publicized the trial out of fear it would weaken public support for pro-choice rights. Gosnell faces 5 counts of murder for killing a female patient and 4 babies born alive in his clinic.
For more on this, we're joined now by Dr. Alveda King. She currently is serving as the Pastoral Associate of Priests for Life. Dr. King, you've been following this trial in the media. There has been a lot of talk about its lack of presence in the mainstream. What are your thoughts?
The day that I went, the media had been somewhat smoked out in that there had been so much pressure from Twitter, from Facebook, all over the social media that some media was then covering. But prior to that, we had admissions from the media that one reason they had not been covering it, they thought it would hurt the cause for free abortion, legal abortion in America.
You've written about a spin the media has created in the Gosnell case, in essence blaming pro-lifers for his actions. Talk about that spin.
Actually, it was incredible to me. I did one interview myself, and the lady was saying, well, you pro-life people, you should have been doing something about it. Why didn't you sound the alarm? But the real answer is there are bubble zones, and we are forbidden to pray in front of the clinics, tell the people that God loves them. And so if we have bubble zones and are arrested for walking down the street in front of an abortion clinic, How are the pro-lifers going to get inside the clinic to investigate and tell what's going on? We have been crying out for investigations, and we are believing that some of this attention that is now coming to this case, where, believe it or not, the abortion industry is throwing Dr. Gosnell under the bus themselves and saying that he's an exception to the rule. But we know that's not true. These cases have not been investigated across this country for many years, and this is the tip of the iceberg.
And quickly, is the Gosnell case one of a bad man doing bad things, or are these kind of abortions happening more than we know?
These abortions are institutional. This is happening all over America, and we're glad to sound the alarm now, and we thank you for the opportunity to have these media interviews where you're willing to let this truth be told.
All right, Dr. Alveda King, as always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Great interview. Well, coming up, heavy rain causing some deadly floods. We'll show you where next.
Your dryer runs forever, and your clothes still come out damp? Now you can speed up your dryer by up to 15 minutes. Introducing the Lint Lizard. It's like a magic wand that cleans deep into any dryer. The flexible Lint Lizard attaches right to any vacuum hose. Look how much lint we got out of this dryer. All this lint that escapes past your lint screen. Yuck! A clogged dryer works harder. All that lint can even burn out your motor. Or worse, it can start a dangerous vent fire. It's a full 40 inches long and cleans deep into your vent system, grabbing all the packed-in lint that's choking your dryer. After a quick cleaning with the Lint Lizard, your dryer vent is clear, making it work less and run more efficiently. Old-fashioned lint brushes pull out some lint, and the lint gets everywhere. The Lint Lizard cleans deeper and sends the lint right into your vac bag. Vacuuming between machines and under appliances is a snap. Take it outdoors to vac your outside vent. So before you spend a fortune on costly repairs, order your Lint Lizard for just $10.99. Call right now and you can double your order. And that's not all. We'll also include the Dust Lizard. It attaches to any vac and adjusts to any position. The Dust Lizard goes where no other attachment can. Clean delicate electronics, tedious air vents, tiny tile crevices, crumbs from corners, dirt from slider tracks, places you could never vacuum before, even expensive sculptures and intricate chandeliers. Plus, the Lint Lizard comes with a money-back guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, return them and keep the Dust Lizard. You get it all, 2 Lint Lizards and the Dust Lizard for $10.99. Call now and find out about free shipping.
Call 1-800-373-2150 and get your Lint Lizard. But call now and you can get a special offer on a second Lint Lizard and the Dust Lizard with your order. So call 1-800-373-2150 and find out about free shipping. That's 1-800-373-2150. Call now.
Well, once again, wild weather hit much of the United States this weekend with deadly flash floods and dangerous winds from Texas to Tennessee.
All that while much of the Midwest is still suffering from those heavy floods. Ephraim Graham has the story.
Flash flooding is the #1 storm-related killer in America, killing more people than tornadoes or lightning. And authorities across the South were out en masse this weekend, looking to prevent casualties as heavy rain turned roads from Houston to Tennessee into rivers.
I thought we was just going to be able to go through it and then, proceed on. But then when we got to here, up under here, I started seeing the water getting high and it didn't go down.
A half foot of rain in only 2 hours caused massive flooding in Houston. Firefighters making 150 rescues during that short time. And it wasn't just rain causing Houston residents to seek cover.
All of a sudden, hail started hitting the car really hard, started pouring, couldn't see anything, we were driving real slow.
Golf ball-sized hail can be seen in this video, covering cars and floating by in the floodwaters. The storm system also worked its way across Tennessee. Some residents chose to evacuate as they saw floodwaters rising higher. Others were forced to, as authorities patrolled flood-prone areas.
Our teams are out now assessing roadways, ditches, creek areas, and making contact with residents at their home.
Flood-weary residents of the Midwest are bracing for more as rivers continue to rise from weeks of heavy rain and melting snow.
Yeah, it's weird. We survived the 2011 flood. It doesn't get to us. But then now, because it's backed up with the ice, Here we are stuck.
Forecasters are keeping an eye on the Red River in Fargo, North Dakota. It's expected to reach its peak soon, as high as 37 or 38 feet. That's 19 feet above the riverbanks. That would be the 7th highest flood on record for the area. For farmers in the Midwest, the massive amounts of rain and flooding are both a blessing and a curse. It's a welcome change after last year's record drought, but the high waters now are preventing them from heading out to plant their crops. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Russian scientists say the Earth may be headed for a period of global cooling, and it could last 200 to 250 years. The Voice of Russia reports that belief comes from scientists at an observatory in St. Petersburg. They say the sun is heading into a cycle where it's less active, and that will affect different aspects of the climate on Earth. Over time, that will lead to cooler than average temperatures.
Joe Bastardi of Weather Bell joins us now for more. Joe, it was the coldest spring I can remember here in Virginia Beach. I am so tired of the cold. Please tell me we are not headed for global cooling.
Here in the United States, because the Pacific cools first and the Atlantic is still warm, we are still biased warmer than normal here for the next 5 to 7 years. And also this heightened sense of urgency along the eastern seaboard with hurricanes. This happened in the 1950s. You recall after the 1950s came the 60s and 70s, and people were thinking the Ice Age was coming then. So we are definitely, in my opinion, going to be continue the global cooling trend that began 4 years ago. We leveled off, and over the last 4 years, we've actually fallen off about 0.05 Celsius from where we were at the beginning of the millennium.
Well, Joe, why do so many people still hold to global warming, that we're experiencing global warming?
You can make anything out of anything you want. You have to look at the long-term ideas, and you also have to understand what the atmosphere is capable of doing. And believe me, it's capable of doing a lot more than what we've seen here over the last 10 to 15 years.
Well, let me ask you this. What would be the implications of global cooling if it really does happen?
Oh, that's far worse than global warming. Look, the fact of the matter is things grow better when there's more carbon dioxide in the air, though I don't think carbon dioxide adds 0.4 to 0.7 degrees Celsius to the entire 33 Celsius that the greenhouse gases add, which we need for life on the planet. You got to understand, if there were no greenhouse gases, the Earth's temperature would be minus 18 Celsius. That's not a fun temperature to live at. But I think that it takes more energy to cool things. It's tougher to grow things. Look what's going on in the Central Plains, having the coldest spring ever. You can't get out there to plant your crops. So they're about to have another big snowstorm in Iowa and parts of Missouri and Minnesota. And yeah, even though it's 85, 90 degrees today, in 4 days it's going to be snowing. So the implications of colder are much worse than warmer. Think about it. More people live closer to the equator than they do to the poles.
Yes, and I think they are very smart to do that. Well, I certainly hope we have the warm weather coming soon. Joe Bastardi, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, and enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
Great advice.
That's his trademark. Well, up next, we visit Ireland, where an intense battle is waging over abortion.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Ireland is one of the safest countries in the world for a woman to have a baby, but that could soon change.
Yeah, that's because of an intense political battle over abortion. Dale Hurd has tonight's Focus Report from Dublin.
35,000 Irish citizens converged on Dublin in January to tell the government to leave Ireland's pro-life law alone. Ireland is one of the last safe nations in Europe for unborn children, but that could all change soon. Ireland's abortion restrictions have come under intense international pressure and relentless attacks in the Irish media, and now some are blaming Ireland's pro-life law for the death of a pregnant woman. Ireland's media and pro-abortion groups have been pushing a story that a 31-year-old pregnant Indian woman died because she couldn't have an abortion. But the facts of the case are misleading. Nia Vivrian is a national pro-life leader.
When news of Savita's death first broke, it was massively exploited by abortion campaigners. This became a global headline, and the global headline was that Ireland had killed Savita Halappanavar because of our pro-life laws.
Savita Halappanavar died last year at University Hospital in Galway from septicemia, or blood poisoning. Her husband claims they requested an abortion 3 different times in hopes of saving her life. The press reporting made it sound like she died because she couldn't have an abortion. But at the inquest into her death last week, medical experts determined that Savita died from sepsis and a series of medical errors, termed a medical misadventure. But the media continues to make it look like she died because she was denied an abortion. Dr. Sean O'Donnell is a psychiatrist and an Irish pro-life leader.
The Irish media basically went to the world media and said, look at Ireland, Catholic Ireland, it's allowing people to die because they can't have abortions.
Pro-abortion groups want the government to make law what Ireland's Supreme Court ruled in something called the X case, that would allow abortion if the mother felt suicidal. But experts think that would lead to de facto abortion on demand. Sinead Ahern is with the pro-abortion group Choice Ireland.
Every day that the government fails to act to legislate for the X case is another day that women's rights are being violated and women are potentially being placed at risk.
The message that women's lives are in danger because of Ireland's abortion law appears to be exactly wrong. The statistics show Ireland is one of the safest places in the world for a pregnant woman.
Irish doctors are not prevented from intervening where there's a life-threatening condition arising in pregnancy, that they will always intervene to save the mother's life, even if that means the unintended death of the baby. We can say in this country we have banned abortion for 30 years. In that time, we have become one of the safest places in the world for a mother to have a baby, and that's according to the United Nations.
Irish Prime Minister Enda Kenny was elected on the promise that he would not open the door to abortion, but he's already wavering. Pro-life protesters in January called for Kenny to keep his promise. But the Irish Parliament is said to be formulating legislation that would allow abortion if the mother is suicidal. Even though a majority of the Irish people are pro-life, the odds are now stacked heavily against the nation's pro-life law.
The most pro-life country, perhaps in the whole Western world, is now standing on the brink of abortion.
The European Union has been pressuring the country to change the law, and pro-life leaders say they're being outspent by millions of dollars. Compared with that kind of firepower, pro-life forces can only take their message to the streets and try to win one heart at a time. But the forces arrayed against Ireland's abortion law are very strong.
The pro-life movement is fighting back hard. We cannot make this the year that abortion is legalised in Ireland and our pro-life ethos is destroyed forever.
Dale Hurd, CBN News, Dublin.
Up next, CBN News was on hand. We bring you highlights from this year's White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes now.
Ow, my feet hurt. My feet hurt, your feet hurt. White hot pain, I wanna cry. Is there anything I can try?
Why, yes! Introducing Strut Soul Angels, the human shock absorber that helps alleviate foot pain.
The first 10 steps in the morning to the bathroom were excruciating. Within 3 days after I put Struts on, it's been such a relief.
Slipped it on and almost immediately I felt a support, kind of like a pillow underneath my arches.
The Struts Soul Angel provides a great amount of relief and support throughout the course of the day, providing shock absorption and relief of pain.
On your feet without proper support can be painful. Strut Soul Angels promotes better balance, control, and body alignment. Standing in your heels all day is painful, but slip on Struts and you'll enjoy comfort and support 24/7. Struts is so versatile, you'll wear them in every shoe you own, even barefoot.
I'm on my feet all the time. I teach 11 and 12-year-olds. The pain was so much that I knew I had to do something. And with the Struts, I can do my job and enjoy my job.
I usually am on my feet from 8 to 12 hours a day. When I wear my Struts, it's like giving my feet a hug all day.
It's life-changing. I wear them from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed.
Why pay $400 for custom orthotics?
Now get Strut Soul Angels for just $10. You also get Miracle Foot Repair Cream, absolutely free. Use it to help relieve dry, callous feet overnight. But wait, call right now and we'll double the offer free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Plus, you get a 100% money-back guarantee. If not completely delighted, send it back, but keep the foot cream as our gift just for trying. You get it all, a $70 value for just $10.
Oh, yes! Love my Struts, love my Struts. The best thing since sliced bread. They heal pain from toes to head. Get yours now, your doctor said.
Struts, be nice to your feet. Call now.
Call 1-800-787-1580 and get your Struts and Miracle Foot Repair for just $10 and we'll double the offer. That's 1-800-787-1580 or visit getstruts.com.
Washington Power players and some top entertainers showed up in full force this weekend.
Yeah, they gathered for the 99th annual White House Correspondents' Dinner Saturday. CBN News was there with a star-studded table of its own. Duck Dynasty stars Willie and Corey Robertson, Super Bowl and Dancing with the Stars champion Donald Driver, and Food Network stars Pat and Gina Neely. Comedian Conan O'Brien served as the night's entertainment, but President Obama was pretty funny too.
Everybody loves Michelle. She's on the cover of Vogue, high poll numbers, but don't worry, I recently got my own magazine cover. Now, I get it. These days I look in the mirror and I have to admit, I'm not the strapping young Muslim socialist that I used to be.
Yeah, it changed.
No, that's great.
He kept a straight face. I mean, you could tell he wanted to laugh when he said that. He's not the strapping young Muslim socialist. He had a good sense of humor. You know, we got to give it to him.
He did.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of NewsWatch.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.